And welcome back to What If Week. This week, this one comes to us from Kakarot Bardawson, who asked the question, what if Batman became the Hulk? As I explained this what if in my own opinion with this amazing thumbnail I made. It's terrible, but I own this terrible. This is my terrible. I'm making it very known that I'm proud of this terrible. But no, what if Batman was the Hulk? Now you might think this is a bit weird, but keep in mind we have the Dark Knight Metal universe, and in the Dark Knight Metal universe, a version of Batman became Devastator, Doomsday. Basically, this is the Doomsday equivalent of Batman, where he injected himself with the Doomsday virus to kill Superman. So an idea like him becoming the Hulk, it's not that far-fetched. So the question would be, A, are we going by the comics, or B, or A, are we going by the comics, or are we going by the movies? And then B, how does this happen, and what ramifications does it have in the overall story? Well, if we were to go by the movies, it would actually be pretty quick. Because if we go by just the Burton movies to Schumacher movies, it'd be Batman would completely... First off, Batman, the minute this happened, the minute he had recordings on it, he would be trying hard. And this is going into the comics as well. He would be trying hard as hell to control this form he takes whenever he gets too angry. And eventually, I do think it'd be a Professor Hulk situation where Batman has basically the strength of the Hulk, but the mind of Batman. So I do think you're looking at a Professor Hulk type scenario in the long run. Initially, yeah, he'd be causing rampages, and he'd be, worried as hell. You probably actually wouldn't see Batman for a while as he's trying to control it. And by the time he does get it under control, then everything's good to go. Now, through the Nolan, Schumacher, and Burton films, Batman would be 100% unstoppable. Like, there'd be no way to stop him, because it'd be a Professor Hulk situation in the sense that Batman, when he goes in the Hulk form, it would be like a Professor Hulk. But I don't think he'd actually stay Professor Hulk, or Professor Batman, if you will, or Bat Hulk. Let's call it Bat Hulk. He'd be Bat Hulk all the time. I do think he'd still feel a need for anonymity through the guise of Bruce Wayne. So he would basically, when he transforms, it's Bat Hulk. He's in control. But when, every other day activities, he is, Wayne. And really, I don't think he would be using Bat Hulk as often as you might think. He still would probably rely on stealth. He'd still probably rely on, basic, deception skills. It's just when he really needs to overcome, like, a crowd of villains, thugs, or someone like Bane, or, Solomon Grundy in the comics, that's when he's, got to go into the Hulk form. And again, through the Burton films, Schumacher films, and the Nolan films, he probably actually wouldn't be needing this very much. If anything, he'd probably actually use this to take out to hold the bomb in place and survive the bomb. Or this would be the reason why he survived the bomb. It's not that he bailed out through the autopilot. It's the fact that he just, flying it out there, then jumped as far as he could and just contained it and absorbed as much of the radiation as he could. And then you see him later with Selena Kyle. It's all well and good. So there's the one thing there for the Nolan films that would actually be slightly different. With BVS though, there'd actually be a very big change to the Justice League universe, because in the crossover that they did with Marvel and DC, Superman one-shot the Hulk quick. But that's the thing, he one-shot the Hulk quick. The Hulk never had a chance to, get to his full potential or anything like that. Batman's not going to be one-shotted by Superman. He's just not. In fact, I imagine that Batman probably doesn't have to use his Hulk form in BVS very often. With Superman, though, he finds this an excuse to brush up on his Hulk tactics, all that. He also feel that his anger fuels his strength, because he is smart. He's the world's greatest detective. He can figure that stuff out. So when the whole trying to beat Superman thing comes up, he still uses the kryptonite because he's not even sure with all his power he can do it. But, he still uses the kryptonite when he has to. But when Superman comes and he smacks Batman around, Batman immediately just it's like, you're not the only one. Who's got tricks? And as Superman comes in there and punch, Batman does stop the punch, because Superman's not trying to beat Batman up at that point. He's not trying to kill Bruce. He's not going all out. But Batman just does Hulk smack him around. Now, this is one of those age-old arguments that, may never be solved. Who is stronger, Superman or Batman? Or Superman or Hulk? Well, it all depends on who's writing the comic, obviously. But if you're going by what we've seen them demonstrate, Hulk has clapped universes out of existence. Hulk has shattered dimensions. Superman's whole black holes in his hand has basically stitched up reality with just his static electricity. Both these guys go into absurd levels of strength. So you could actually say there's a good chance they're quite comparable to each other in the long haul. Ultimately, I would still probably get the edge to Superman, but keep in mind, the movie version of Superman, oh god, is not the same as the comic version of Superman. So Batman squaring off against Clark, Batman's also still got the comic experience, so he's able to block Clark a lot more. He does the whole Hulk smashing through buildings and just eventually, Superman does start to take the edge. Batman though crushes the kryptonite grenade in his face and just has him soaking him, and does start actually beating the living god out of him. Just and even after Superman, the effects start to wear off, Superman's still not, ready, all patched up and ready to go. No, the Hulk Batman is still able to go toe to toe even with him in a regular form, even with him in top form, or at least recovered form. He's still able to beat him on him. So I actually think Hulk Batman would make that fight a lot more definitive in Batman's favor. With that said, does he kill Batman? I do think the whole Martha thing still happens, where even though Superman's in a lot worse shape than he was in the original, he just save Martha. You're letting them kill Martha. Which, to be fair, as much as I will actually defend that scene to some degree, why was he referring to his mom by her first name? You're letting them kill my mother. That's what a normal person would have said. Anyway, and then obviously they go. Now, this version of Batman would also be able to go toe-to-toe with Doomsday. He wouldn't just have to stay, avoiding Doomsday the whole time. He can go toe-to-toe. And, he can actually be the one who delivers the Kryptonite Spear and kills Doomsday if he has to, because he's the one who has to make up for it. With that said, it then leaves Superman alive in the DCEU. So Superman's around. You don't see the world going into chaos as much. And the events of Justice League just don't happen because the Mother Boxes were afraid of Superman. It's stated several times. They were afraid of Superman. They didn't want to activate because of Superman was there. And Superman's still there. Plus they have this Bat Hulk that's now a thing. So that never happens. So really, if Batman was the Hulk in the DCEU, it would actually solve a lot of problems in that movie franchise. At least in terms of their in-universe problems, not in terms of movie-making problems. So that's Batman in the movies, but what about in the comics? Well, there's so many comic storylines, I can't really do all of them, but let's do some highlight reels real quick. Nightfall, Bane, when Batman first meets Bane and Bane breaks his back, that wouldn't happen. Batman's still tired after everything he's doing, but the minute Bane tries to take him on, he's just comes in and just overwhelms him and beats the ever-loving crap out of Bane. So, okay, Batman never gets his back broken. And any of the Batman v Superman crossovers, Batman's chances of winning are always slim, but those percentage chances go way up when he can actually go physically toe-to-toe with Superman. And not necessarily beat him per se, but if I go physically toe-to-toe, that just jacks everything right up there. In any of the scenarios where he has to fight, higher level beings like Solomon Grundy or Darkseid, again, he handles himself much better. Hell, in Batman Superman Apocalypse, where it doesn't happen in the movie, which I do like the movie though. You still get that great scene and say, well played, where he basically punks Darkseid, which is a great scene. But in the original comic, he actually punches Darkseid with the armored gauntlet and breaks his arm, punching him in the face. Here, he does it, and Darkseid actually feels it. And they actually would probably have a clash. Batman ultimately knowing, though, that he's still probably on the losing end of that fight. It's I could destroy you in one blast of my Omega Beam. You could, but that wouldn't deactivate the Hell Spores, would it? You will deactivate them in the Apocalypse. Here's the deal. Promise you will never... pledge you'll get, I can't remember exactly how you put it, but basically leave Kara-Zor-El alone. For Sir Kara-Zor-El, say it! And you see that smile on Darkseid. Well played. Uh, if the Kryptonian or the Amazon had taken that gamut, they would have lost. They do not have the sheer will of character to commit such atrocity. But you, a human, you kill your own kind, a most admirable quality. Like, man, gotta love Batman. Even if you're not a big Batman fan, you gotta admit they give him some good moments. So yeah, it's one of those things. Again, I can't go with every single story, obviously. Like the Arkham, or not Arkham, the Injustice series, that might play out differently. That he's that strong. Batman Beyond, hell, the Batman Beyond universe is a good question because would Bruce still age the same? He'd still be able to Hulk out if he needed to. As far as we can tell, Banner does still age the same. He doesn't. His aging isn't slowing. He does seem to live long. Maybe he does age a bit slower. Maybe just got a longer life. But in Hulk the End, hold on. I'm gonna get up Hulk the End real quick. Because in Hulk the End, it's because there's a bunch of what if series. Where it's like Wolverine the End, Thanos the End. In Hulk the End, it's literally the fact there was like nuclear holocaust, and the only one who survived was Bruce. Following war which ended in the violent nuclear holocaust, and only he could survive. He begins the story about how he was originally Hulk, but turned into a person, talking to a camera left by Vitbot, a floating camera, constantly hovering around about 100 feet away from him. Now, it doesn't actually say who the oldest one. How old Banner is. We know, though, he was on the older side, because it'd been years. But ultimately, we don't know how Batman would age into Batman Beyond, being the Hulk. I imagine it's like this, because the Hulk part of him is still there, he might actually, because he becomes a recluse, he might actually stay in Hulk form most of the time, become more of a Maestro-esque figure, although not as insane. And maybe he actually still keeps up the fight, but now as the maybe he called himself Maestro. I don't know. Let's call him Maestro, Bat Maestro, or Maestro Bat. Maybe as Maestro Bat, he's actually still been taking care of the city. I mean, that is entirely possible, because it would make sense that Bruce, once he became too old to really be going out, would become the Recluse and become the full-time Batman. While still under the guise that Bruce Wayne is now just a recluse and occasionally just checks in on the phone on the company. As the Hulk, he would have much longer lifespan and all these still abilities of the Hulk. So it would actually be interesting. So that would imply you don't actually have Batman Beyond at that point. I mean, at that point, tech still evolves, develops, so he would still probably, be developing tech to go alongside him. Maybe, I can even see this too, where he figures out not just how to be Hulk or Maestro Hulk or Bruce Hulk, whatever, but actually slim himself back down to his natural size, but still kind of like a She-Hulk scenario, except not modern She-Hulk, who's more Hulk-like. Or like She-Hulk, who was still basically physically like a human woman. She just, was green and more muscular and more powerful. I could totally see him figuring out a way to do that given enough time. And if he's doing that, he could still wear the bat suit, augmented flyer, all that. So you'd actually have a Batman who's still doing his stuff all that time, all those years later. So that means Terry doesn't get involved at all. That means, and I didn't even include the animated stuff with like the Justice League cartoon. There's a lot there's a lot you could do with a Bat Hulk. The thing about this is, though, anytime you talk about Batman getting any sort of superpowers, you do run the risk of him playing God. Now, fortunately, characters like Superman, Captain Atom, Shazam, there are characters powerful enough to still keep him in check. And he actually would probably openly be grateful to that they keep him human and grounded. But ultimately, he probably would be stopping a lot of more conflicts and causing a lot more peace, provided he has someone there to rein him in. Which, again, with Superman existing for as long as he has, I have no doubt he would. There's plenty of characters, Green Lanterns, that could throw him into space. Granted, he could survive space, but still. Enough to keep his ego in check, but, let him do his thing. Yeah, I could see that. And I do like the idea of him figuring out how to... Think of it like, weird to say, use a Dragon Ball analogy. Think of it like, with the Saiyan transformations. Getting bulkier slows down their speed. Now, we know Hulk is very fast despite his size, but I imagine Batman would want to be a bit more stealthy and not this giant monster. So he, through meditation, all that, learns to channel and slim down his Hulk form back into maybe a slightly more buffed version of his human form. So I could see that definitely happening. Which would be, if anyone wants to do fan art of that, I'm more than down to see Bat Hulk, but, as Batman. Either way, though, that is what if Batman became the Hulk, in my opinion. There's lots of routes we can go with that, and there's too many storylines for me to do a full what if on that. Like a true, even if I did multi-parts, it's just going story by story, and it would just get old after a while. Because it's all probably going to end with roughly the same issue where power might start to go to Batman's head. Someone like Superman or Wonder Woman or something like that has to put him in the check to some degree. Keep in mind, I do think a full-powered Savage Hulk would beat Wonder Woman. Oh, I do believe that 100%. And it would certainly give full-powered Savage Hulk, like Worldbreaker Hulk. Not so much Devil Hulk, believe it or not. Devil Hulk I actually don't think is a stronger version. He's not as strong a version of Hulk as I think a lot of people want to believe. It's just that he's so hard to put down because of the immortality aspect. But World War Hulk, Savage Hulk, yeah, those full power, those guys, they'd give Superman a hard time. They would. But yeah, I think as long as someone's there to keep him grounded and keep him mentally stable, just keep his ego in check, I think Batman would very much do a very good job at cleaning up crime in Gotham and around the world. But anyway, that is just my opinion. What do you think, though? What do you think Batman would be like as the Hulk? Put in the comments below. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, want us to review something? Put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Hit that bell if you want to be notified. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you folks later.